morning. Tuesday. Had to think for a minute. Tuesday. For some reason, I keep thinking it's Wednesday, but it's not. It's Tuesday. Okay. So, here we are. Still beautiful weather. Um, I didn't get my gutters. I don't know. Guy didn't show up. I don't know if he's I don't know if he's gonna come today or not. But I did get some of my ceiling up, which is pretty great. And I think the whenever you're doing some of this stuff, you're not really sure, right, if the technique is going to work, or if your ladder is going to be tall enough, or we were using a drywall lift to get the ceiling up, um, and I wasn't sure if it was going to reach, because it has like a height requirement, and um, the ceiling is very high. So but everything seems to be working fine, so that means I'll be able to continue. Good morning, Dora. So that's pretty good. So I will just chill here for a couple minutes, and then we'll get started. I see people coming in and out, so maybe the connection is a bit iffy today. We'll see. A couple more people. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say about that. It's supposed to rain later in the week, so I am trying to get my stuff done. Um, but it's tricky, and maybe that's a good thought for the day. Um, Whenever you're trying to get stuff done, whatever it might be, there are constraints and um, difficulties that you have to go around or work with. Um, Sometimes just go through. Um, I am having issues with my projects because, well, I'm waiting for some people to get their jobs done. And then, with the virus and all, everybody's here and home a lot. So my son works nights, which means he sleeps during the day. So I have to be careful how loud I am about various things I'm doing so I don't wake him up. And then there's other, if I need help, like an extra set of hands, it's hard to find somebody around here. You'd think in a house full of 5 people that there would be someone around to give me a hand when I need to lift something, but not always, right? Because my husband's working, and he's on calls all the time, and the kids are off doing who knows what, or sometimes just asleep. So it's been it's definitely been an education in being patient and not letting the task get ahead of the goal, right? So Good morning, Ruth. I think it's important when we're thinking about things that we want to get done, things that we're doing in our life, to always keep your eye on the goal and not necessarily the task. So, um, my task right now is to get some of these projects done. Good morning, Deb. But my goal is larger than that, right? My goal is for everyone to um, live here peacefully and successfully and get what they need, um, which means sometimes my task is going to be secondary. Sometimes I'm not going to be able to do the things I need to do exactly at the time I want to do them. Um, and that's a lesson I think we all have to learn. Unless you live all by yourself, but even if you live all by yourself, you still have some constraints. You can't always do everything exactly when you want to, because of other things happening. So again, um, keeping your eye on the goal rather than the task. Um, in yoga terms, right, we can think about that when you're moving through a practice, right? There may be certain poses that you struggle with, that you think are difficult, or you really wish that we just didn't do them. We could skip those, but they're part of the whole, right? The goal is something bigger. And sometimes the tasks to the goal, um, we have to just kind of get through them or do them when we can. Remembering and keeping in mind that our larger goal is more important than any one task that we might have to do to get there. If we're thinking about this in terms of the yamas and the niyamas and the rules that we follow, again, um, all of those rules and guidance, they're all in service of this greater goal, right? Which is living peacefully, living successfully, um, being at peace with yourself and others. All of these things, um, the tasks may seem difficult, right? Certain ones of the tasks. Some of them may not be so hard, but some we will struggle with always. And you may have, a specific one that is very hard for you. And just as we say with our asana, if you have a pose that is troubling to you, um, that's a pose that has something to teach you. Right? There is something about that pose that you want to take a look at. Um, it has some meaning to you. And the same thing with the yamas and the yamas. If there are any of those that really strike a chord for you, you may need to explore them a little deeper. Maybe that's a place where you need to put a little effort and see where it gets you. Um, again, in service of that greater goal, which is, right, peace. Um, it may not feel like it, right? It may feel like a struggle. Um, just getting through the yamas and niyamas, just trying to get your head in the right place, trying to deal with things in the present, not dredging up old things from the past or struggling with worry about the future. Um, these are all uh, these can all seem difficult, right? They are jobs in and of themselves. But I think sometimes if you try to think of them in terms of the greater goal, it makes it easier. It makes it, you remember why you're trying. What is this about? Um, and as with everything in yoga, we're trying to take that long view. We don't want to get bogged down um, with the little things, right? We want to see the forest instead of just the trees. So remember your goal, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. I think I know what that is. I think I know what most of our goals are. Um, but there are a lot of goals upon goals, right? Small goals, big goals, what they call stretch goals, right? Hopeful, like you might get there, but maybe not. Maybe not today, maybe eventually. Um, it's great. I mean, setting these goals are good. They keep you motivated. They keep you um, on track, right? You have something to look forward to. Um, the trick is to remember that all of these tasks are in service of that goal, um, and that you're not going to get there right away. It's like if you think about um, building a wall, let's say, right? Bricks. Say you have bricks. So brick wall is big and heavy and just crazy. Like you can't even imagine how much effort and time and effort. You see this huge wall, you think, how will that ever happen? Well, if you put one brick down every day, soon, you're going to have a wall. Um, and maybe you can do more than one brick. Maybe you could do two or five or maybe even 10. I don't know. Um, but that's how it gets there, right? It's inevitable. Just as we are growing older every day, we have this space of time. What are we going to do with it? Right? That time is passing, regardless of what you do with it. Um, you might as well make the most of it. Um, I was reading an article which I really liked, and it was in the same thing we were talking yesterday about um, this idea of short term, setting short term goals rather than long term plans, because we don't, we're a little unsure about what's happening in the future. Um, this was another way of looking at um, because right we can't necessarily have some of these long-term plans. It can feel like some of our days are kind of wasted, right? um, and the term they used was burning up the days. So you might have, let's say, a weekend where you really aren't doing anything. You watch some TV and you make food for yourself, but that's about it. And you might look back on Sunday and be like, wow, I really just burned up that whole weekend. um, So, one way to think about that is that it's wasted, right? The other way to think of burning is this idea of fuel, that it's fuel, right? So as we burn through a day, we are fueling something. What are we fueling? Are we putting some effort in toward a goal that we're trying to reach? Um, or are we just kind of, you know, letting it go? Um, we can think of this time as a very concentrated time, right? We can't have a lot of long range goals, long range plans, but we can have short term ones. Um, and we can think of all of those days that we are spending as fuel for those goals. Um, so even if you spend a day, let's say you're working on a project that you want to get done, and maybe you spend a day where you didn't do any work on the project, but maybe you read um, some articles about it, or you spent some time planning, like writing down a list of things that you needed to do. These are all building blocks, right? Steps that you take toward whatever it is you're seeking. Think of them as, when you are using your time for that, you are burning it up as fuel toward this goal. It isn't wasted. Even taking a good rest so that you can do more um, is not wasted, right? You are working in service of your body being able to continue on whatever path you've chosen. Um, so think of it in smaller terms, maybe. Um, you'll feel, you'll just feel like things are moving, even when they aren't really. you know, um, Small steps, right? Baby steps, as they say. It doesn't matter, right? A baby gets to the same place as a grown up, they just move slower. Um, it doesn't matter how you get there, just that you keep going and that you don't lose um, your your focus, right? A lot of times when we are moving slowly, we think we aren't, we've lost our focus. We're not making these great strides. We're not jumping ahead. It's okay. Um, Take this time to really learn about what it is that you want. And you may find that what you're doing, um, the beauty of moving things slowly is that you have time to change, right? You have time to course correct if things start going in the wrong direction. I find with some of my projects, I like to use hand tools rather than power tools because for just that reason, I get myself into trouble with power tools. Things are moving way too fast, and I can't slow things down. And before you know it, you've destroyed whatever it is you were working on. Um, so don't be afraid to slow things down. Sometimes it's a much better idea than just blasting ahead. All right, let's do some yoga, some asana. I'm still pretty beat up today. Um, I need to take my own advice. Procrastinating. Yeah, but there is a difference between preparation and procrastination. Um, I find sometimes what we feel is procrastination is really preparation. Um, Maybe we aren't quite ready. Maybe we have a few more things to iron out in our heads, right? Um, I found with this project that I'm working on, I have procrastinated. I mean, I've thought about this project for almost 20 years. But now that I'm doing it, I know exactly what I'm going to do, right? I've thought about every corner, everything, and it's going together pretty well because of that. I wouldn't necessarily say take 20 years to do the things you want to do, but um, sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes, life gets in the way. And, when we first moved in here, I had little tiny kids, and I wasn't about to get into that kind of thing, redoing like a giant porch. But everything has its time. I think sometimes we, our heads, right? Our belief is that we should be doing something when we are really not prepared. We don't have the skills, we don't have the tools, we don't have the resources or the time. Our head is saying, yeah, you should just be doing this, just go do it. But in truth, we aren't ready. Um, I mean, physically, but even mentally. Sometimes there are tasks that are just too big. There's something about it that, we just can't take that next step. Sometimes we're just being lazy. I mean, you know that. That's the truth. I guess the trick is to know the difference, and to keep moving. Even if it's not doing the one thing that you think you should be doing, do something else. And that, I think that's the difference, right? If you can't get yourself up off the couch to do anything, then you might just be doing lazy, or you need a rest. But if you truly are, being active, doing some things, but there are some things you just can't, and I find this with people with things to do with their family, and again, this idea of clutter, a lot of stuff in your house, these attachments that we have, sentimental attachments to things, to people, um, to ways of doing things, those are the things that really trip us up. But again, you may not be ready. You may need to think about it a little bit more. You may need to really convince yourself that what you're going to gain by letting these things go is greater than what you think you're getting by keeping them. Um, we talk about in yoga that things unfold just as they're meant to unfold. And again, we don't believe this. We think, um, we give ourselves a great deal more power than maybe we have. We think we are the ones in control of all this, and that we're just being lazy, or we just can't get focused, or, it's all on us. In truth, things are happening all around you. Um, and you need to kind of be open to that. Um, Cut yourself some slack and just kind of do what you feel is the right thing to do. I think one of the worst things that we do to ourselves is this inability to trust that we're going to choose what we need. Um, we don't believe that. We believe that we are very lazy, very stupid and selfish. And I mean, all these negative things that we tell ourselves, um, they're not helpful. They aren't helpful at all. As we are doing yoga, we're doing the asana, we're doing some meditation, we're getting in touch with our feelings and the connection between the body and the mind, we will get better, right? So maybe there was a time in your life where you were ultimately super lazy, super just like inert, you never did anything, you just were like, ugh. So that could be true. I don't know. Um, I know when my kids were young, really just being able to like feed them and get out of bed in the morning, and that was a lot. Like I wasn't doing barely anything besides that. It was just survival. Um, and I think sometimes, right, you get stuck in your head. You think you're still back there, but actually you're somewhere else. And as you are going down this yoga path, you'll see that things are changing, and that you are starting to make maybe these better decisions. You have a little more connection, right? So you're not driving yourself, but you're not also um, just being super lazy. And I talk about this with yoga because with asana, I find that people are push themselves so hard. They think that they have to be super strict with themselves, or they'll never do anything. And they end up hurting themselves because of this, because they're not listening. They're not paying attention to what's going on with the body. Um, and I tell people again and again that you may be lazy sometimes. You may slack off, but you won't do it forever. It's okay to do that now and then because you're going to get bored with that. The same thing if about like stuff around your house or whatever. You may be lazy for a while, but I mean, unless you are going through some kind of mental health crisis where you are like clinically depressed, you're going to get bored with that. You're going to be like, this is dumb. I'm sick of it. I've been watching way too much TV lately. And I'm just like, well, I'm done with this. So I'm not watching TV now. And I'm doing other things because I'm like, this is just too much. You will go through these different periods where you have more energy to do things. But if you're not listening to what's going on inside, you're going to drive yourself in all different directions, right? So you're telling yourself to do this, your body's over here, and you're not. Then, you start getting really confused because you're not hearing the feedback and things are getting messed up. Work with your body, work with your mind and body in this connection. It may not make sense all the time. You may not do things in the most orderly way, right? It's not going to be like a logical list. It's going to be like this. You're going to be like a fish in the water, right? You're going to go here and then you're going to go here, but you're moving forward. But you're working at your own pace, and you are getting things done in a way that works for you. Then you don't burn out. You don't beat yourself up to the point where you're physically unable to do things. I'm about ready to take a break, and I'm just trying to get myself through till Tuesday because there's going to be rain. But I can feel today I'm pushing it, right? I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself, and I'm feeling it. Like I had some trouble sleeping last night. I can just feel that I'm out of sync. I think I can get one more day, but that could be a mistake. Again, like you won't always make the right call. Sometimes you're gonna fail, right? Your ego, everything's gonna get ahead of you, and you're gonna end up with a setback. And today could be a mistake. I don't know. Maybe I'll do half what I thought I was gonna do. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with it. Be flexible, right? Be flexible with your schedule and your plan. Don't expect every day to be the same, right? Just like your yoga practice is different, what you can get done may be different. You might be surprised. You might wake up feeling one thing, but by the middle of the day, you're like, nope, it's not happening. Listen, right? Listen to yourself. You are not lazy. You are not worthless, right? You just need what you need. So give yourself that. Yeah, adjusting to retirement is tricky. You got to keep going, but you got to think about a different pace, right? What you were doing when you're working is different than what you're doing when you're working for yourself, right? Think of retirement as working for yourself, right? Try to be a good boss. Try to be a good employee. What would you tell if you were a boss, what would you tell your employee? Take a break if you need to. Don't kill yourself, right? Be a good boss to yourself. Okay, now we really have to do some yoga. I got to move around a little bit today, but not too much, but just enough to get moving. So I noticed this Sunday, I didn't do any yoga, didn't teach class, I didn't do anything. I just got to work, and I was like, oh man, I don't feel great. So, well, moving is good. Sitting up tall. Breathing in, breathing out. Noticing places where things feel tense or uncomfortable. One more breath, and then chin down toward the chest. Just let your head hang. Lifting up. Keep lifting the chin, head drops back. To center. Dropping the head over to the right, just gently. Back to center and moving left. And back to center. Lean forward. And moving around. One way and the other. Back up to your seat, arms wide. Deep breath in, exhale, hands together. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Once more, inhale and exhale. Interlace the fingers, lift the hands. We're gazing up. And then arms down by your side. Inhale, lift. And lower. Lift. And lower. Lift the shoulders, roll back. And forward. Let's extend the legs straight out. Point and flex the feet. This is great. I feel this like this is the best thing to do. I do this sometimes in the middle of the day if I'm up on the ladder a lot. This is very helpful. I was trying to do this on the ladder, and then I realized that's super dumb. What are you even doing? Rotate the feet around. One way and then the other. And then let's bring the soles of the feet together. Sitting up tall, take a deep breath, fold forward. Come on back up. Let's bring the hands onto the knees. And we're going to do seated cat-cow. So you can keep the feet together. If you're really up here and this is kind of uncomfortable for you, you can cross the legs also. It's fine. But we're going to kind of pull the shoulders back as we're leaning the chest forward, gaze is up. And then shoulders come forward, kind of curving the back, drawing the belly in, gazing down. Moving with the breath, inhales. Exhale. Let's walk the hands out in front. Back up, hands behind you. Squeeze shoulders together, gaze up. Back up to your seat. Left leg is under, right leg on top. Holding on to the feet, take a deep breath. Hold. Moving back up. Let's switch now. So right leg is under, left on top. Deep breath and fold. And back up. Both legs out in front. Deep breath. Fold forward. Moving back up. Let's bring the legs wide. You can walk the hands out or bring them onto the legs, your choice. And we're just coming down to that place where things start getting quite tight. You'll feel it the inside of the thighs, and especially like right here. This is where I feel it. So just the inner part of the knee. Moving back up. Bring the legs a little closer. Maybe the width of the mat. We're going to fold forward. Back up, bend the knee. Bring that foot in, close to the thigh. Turn the body so you're facing that left leg. Inhale, and then fold. Walk your hands back up. Switch. Turning to face the right leg, arms overhead, and folding. Moving up, both legs out. Take a deep breath and fold. Moving back up, bend the knees. And then lower down. Resting on the mat. Take a few breaths. Let's bring that right ankle on top of the left knee. And then however you do this pose, that's what we're going to do. What you need for today. And then set the foot down. We're going to keep that right ankle on top of the knee. Arms out to a T or goalpost arms. Then lowering that left knee down. And breathe. Coming back up. We'll switch the legs. So the left ankle is on top. Breathe. Set your foot down and then lowering right leg over. Breathe. And coming back up, both feet to the mat. We're going to do supported bridge. So, got your block. I hope you have a block by now. I really hope so. Lifting up. Find a place for the block. Again, you don't have to use a block. There's lots of other things you could use. If you have a day where the block doesn't feel good or doesn't feel good to have anything under there, then just rest on the mat. That's fine too. And sometimes just lying on the floor is a wonderful feeling. Having that nice flat surface underneath you helps get everything back where it's supposed to be. Sometimes we have mattresses that are too soft, too squishy. I remember being on vacation one time. We actually came home early because the bed was so horrible. I was in such pain. And I would get out of bed and lay down on the floor. I ended up sleeping on the floor after a while. So, yeah, laying on the floor is not a bad thing. That's why you have your yoga mat. So you could just lay on the floor wherever you want to. And we've talked about this before, this idea of being horizontal, right? It changes your perspective. It gives you more contact with the floor. It's very grounding, as you might expect. But if you are feeling anxious or kind of spacey, right? Sometimes being on our feet all day can kind of get you untethered, right? Laying down can kind of get you, back into yourself, get you centered and feeling secure and stable again. And then lifting up, remove your block, soles of the feet together. And then we're going to move into Shavasana here. So you can keep the legs where they are, or you could extend them long, whatever works today. Notice all the places where your body is making contact with the floor, the mat, the earth. So when we are grounded, we are back in our bodies. We are not floating around up in our heads. We are in our bodies. We are sensing um, the stability of the body, the stability of the earth. Bringing us more into that connection where we are all one. We are here. We have every right to be here. We are the same as everyone else. We're also different, but we are all part of the one. We have every right to be here. We have every right to pursue our life in the way that is correct for us. We are the experts. Right? You are the one who knows what you need. You can get ideas, you can get suggestions, helpful tips from teachers and friends and internet and everything else, but you are the one that has to sift through that and find out what is true for you. This is why it is so important to learn to trust yourself. Trust that voice inside. Even if you really can't trust yourself, right? If you feel like your connection to the small self, right? The small s, your mind, your ego, if you feel like that connection is so deep and unshakable right now that you don't trust it, believe that the big S, right? That connection to the universal can be trusted. So cultivate that connection, that communication between the universal self. That, what they call the small, still voice. Hear that. Right? Start listening for that. One of the wonderful things that we work on with meditation is sorting out the noise, right? Noticing the difference between that small, still voice and the chatter that's going on in your head. So, in our culture, we talk about um, trusting your heart instead of your head, right? And that's very much the same, right? Your head is telling you all different things. Your head is your ego, it's your mind, it's changeable, it's can be affected by so many different things. Um, it's not necessarily reliable. Um, but the heart, that connection to the universal, is not going to steer you wrong. When we trust ourselves, we acknowledge that we have a connection to the divine and a connection to all of this knowledge and um, the source of knowledge within us. Um, One of my favorite quotes is, "The guru is you," right? Guru, meaning teacher, is really you. You may get some help along the way. Um, you may get some inspiration or some thoughts from other people, but you're the one that has to sort that out. You're the one that has to make that work for you. And when you do that for yourself, no one can ever take advantage of you. No one can make you do something or believe something that is untrue. When we give our power up to someone we perceive to be in authority or of greater, spiritual knowledge or something than we have, um, you run the risk, right, of getting misdirected, getting um, told something incorrect, right? Because we're all just humans. Um, Humans make mistakes. Humans fall prey to temptations of power and money and all of the pitfalls along the way. No one is above those temptations. So rather than put your faith in someone who is just as fallible as you are, cultivate that connection for yourself. It won't steer you wrong. Um, there may be people who have more knowledge and have more experience with these things. And it's great to acknowledge that, but um, we never want to blindly follow someone simply because we think there's something special about them or different. Everyone, we're all kind of in this together, right? We're all in the same place. Some people know a little more, some people have learned a little more. They may be a little further down the path, but they're not infallible. We are all just struggling, right? um, Cultivate that connection within yourself. It will never steer you wrong. When you're ready, move a little bit, fingers and toes, hands and feet. Maybe stretch if you feel like it. And then we're going to make our way up to a seat, bringing hands together, deep breath in and out. Thank you for taking some time this morning for yoga, for sharing it with me. I hope you have a really good Tuesday. Namaste. Okay, 5 minutes of meditation while we are here in this pleasant state of mind. All right, so sitting comfortably, breathing comfortably, finding that focus within. Coming back to awareness, breath in and breath out. Okay, there you go. Enjoy your Tuesday. Hopefully you can take some steps toward a goal of some sort. And I will be back tomorrow.